Hi, this is Ginger Cook, and I thought it would be fun today to create this sort of jewel tone butterfly. And if you'll notice on our color wheel, we're sort of sticking with the violets, then the oranges, and a little bit of green. Do you see that? This is the side kind of, everything's in the kind of these warm tones. This kind of color greens in here, and it was inspired. I'll show you the photograph in a minute. It's inspired by this photograph of these black-eyed Susans and this little butterfly. And I don't know. I just thought this was charming. It's not a particularly hard thing to paint. It's pretty easy, as a matter of fact. And so I want you to consider trying it. And we did something a little different. I was let me just show you the photograph real quick. I found this photograph, all right, and I wanted to just make it a little smaller, so I sort of folded it there, like that. And so I played around with the lights and the darks. This is in shadow, this is light. Played around a little bit with the lights and darks and the greens on this. You know, we started off with a couple of colors we're not going to be using. The only yellows we're going to be using are cad yellow medium. If you have some cad yellow light, that would be okay, but you don't need any of the other yellows, and yellow oxide, okay? And then we're just using magenta and white and dazzling purple, phthalo blue and ultramarine blue, and that gets us all the greens and dazzling purple. So those are pretty much the colors that are in this. I'm going to zoom back out just a bit of here so you can get back just a little bit from it. And toward the end, I started pulling back some lights and darks and sort of cleaning up some of the dark areas around here. It's a very easy shape to draw in. But I will ask John, for those of you who do not want to draw this in, I kind of sketched it in for you. Well, we'll try to have it traceable on our website for you if that helps you. We don't mind. And I just wanted to show you how this color wheel, how we decided the colors. Now I did something different. We started on a 6x8 canvas, and you'll notice that there's almost a magenta undertone. I just found a canvas and kind of painted over it, and we sort of made some magenta and a little bit of yellow, and kind of a yellow oxide up here. And the underpainting is really very unimportant. You're not going to see it. In fact, if you want to just paint your whole underpainting magenta, that would be fine too. Sort of magenta and white, that would be fine. Or just magenta on the canvas. And just the background is much less important than you think, because we keep layering colors. And I think you're going to really enjoy this, and I think this is it's really a fun, easy lesson on how to do butterflies. Actually, this might be charming much larger, so I'm going to suggest that too. If you want to try this larger and freehand it in, you can see that's almost a heart shape. Do you see this? Here's a little shape right here, here's a little shape right there. Almost a heart shape with a little triangle. This isn't tricky. Sometimes I think we get into the habit of just tracing things on and not just making our mind see shapes. And if you freehand it in, I think you might be surprised. But in any event, whatever you do, please enjoy our beautiful little butterfly. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken a little small canvas tablet, 6x8, but you could use anything. And this was some leftover paint we had from a project the other night. This is yellow oxide, a little magenta, and a little bit of burnt sienna. We just put it on here like this, sort of in a very random pattern, because I like the colors in this butterfly, and I thought they were sort of pretty. And I thought, we're going to do something with this butterfly and this flower. And as I start, I always do my introductions last, okay? So right now I'm going to show you how I'm going to design this. So the first thing I want to do is put some of my paint out of the way and just take I'm going to take a pencil, a little white charcoal pencil, and I've decided that I don't want the whole flower showing, so I'm going to cut this off about here. I want this more of a rectangle. So the butterfly is the center of attention, all right? So I'm going to say, and it's an interesting shape. So if I'm saying that this is the round part of my flower right here, okay? Like that. And my butterfly wing, here's our little guy right here. Let's back him up just a hair. He's got to sort of fit in between here and here. And I want you to understand, rather than just rely on tracing, I want you to understand how you might draw a shape in like this. Here's the underside of this shape. You see this? It's almost like a pear shape, isn't it? And then back here, we're saying this is as far as it's going. So then back here, this curves up like that, and then comes under here and meets about, right about here. So that's the shape of the butterfly, do you see? Now, do I want to make him a little bigger? I could make him a little bigger, but I know I want at least that much. And then there's kind of a dark, it's kind of a black line that's coming around the outside of him like that. Okay, it's going to come around in here like this, up here like that. So that's this wing shape. And the reason you like chalk is because, and the reason we all like chalk is because chalk sort of erases. Now, his little body, that's a little butterfly, is kind of like just a little, kind of a teardrop shape. I don't want to get too into the little head on him, but there's some little antennae going here like that. And then our flower is just going to be here, and the petals will come way down like this, curve around this way. You want to curve these back, and I think we want to exaggerate the size of this the center here, so I'll give you some measurements in a minute, but this is going to be our butterfly. Now, is this big enough? Okay, so let's just see. Do I have this big enough? Do I need to come up here like this? Maybe make him a little bit bigger, but that's really all I want to do. And he's got to be at an angle like this. Then the outside of him is another dark line, and it's scalloped. Okay, so it comes this way, but it's scalloped like that. Okay, what is under here? Oh, I see this table. Here, let's move that. Okay, it's scalloped like this. So, okay, can you, all right, so we've got a scalloped thing here, okay? And then, and this is going to be kind of a dark inside line like this. It's coming down here. So that's the main thing of our butterfly, and he's the whole center of our attention, all right? So then, back here, we've got more flowers coming off of this way, more flowers this way. This is a foreshortened petal, so it's going to be a little bit smaller. And then all under here, we've got some beautiful flowers coming this way, and a little petal coming down here like this, kind of curved out this way. Okay, and then this kind of down toward the corner, and then off the canvas like that. We've got a beautiful big flower here, and in the picture you see a little bit of this of the stem of this flower, but a little pop center of it. I'm not sure we want that. I think I'd rather have it up here and have it come off of this way and make this one a little bigger. All right, let's make this one a little bigger and not have it there, because I think it kind of looks like you just, you know, pooped or something. I don't know. That did it works. Sometimes things work in a photograph and they don't work in a real, you know, in an actual painting, because people just don't understand it. Now we've got this flower here, and I'm thinking I want to bring down some of the petals a little bit longer like this to kind of indicate just how big are the size of our little butterfly in comparison to this whole flower thing. Okay, so we've got this, and I notice that there's a pretty sharp line here like that coming back. That's pretty good, and it's coming this way, and we're not going to get kind of a kidney bean shape here. It's going to be dark. Now, I like these colors that I just had. I think you could do this in blues and all kinds of colors. I like all that. And then maybe coming down from the top here, we've got this yellow. Let's bring some of these petals out a bit. And instead of having them come in this direction, maybe we've got some petals, some yellow petals coming down this way from our butterfly. And we're not going to, you know, maybe this is like a whole field of flowers, and we're going to say, did that help? I don't think that added anything, so we're going to erase that. All right, so we're just going to count on these, okay? Maybe we'll have some come up from the bottom. I think I'd like that better. Little flowers coming up this way. Maybe like more like that, where they're crossing over there. Okay, I like that better. Okay, so these are our main flowers, and here's our main petals. They're very simple to draw. Okay, don't be afraid of drawing. You all learned drawing when you learned handwriting in school. Some of these petals are thicker than others. All right, so what do we need to know? What we need to know is that we need to know that yellow only paints over white. So the first thing we're going to do is get some white paint, and we're going to paint in our petals on our picture. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Paint in the petals. Now, all right. So okay, so here we go. I'm going to just take this as white. I'm going to paint that in like that. Let me just look at my photograph here so I can kind of see where this is. Because there's a separation kind of between the petals. This one's coming this way, so I want to leave a little space. Got one coming out this way. I'm going to have one coming this way. I'm using a little angle brush here. And notice I'm leaving a little bit of space between all of this, the background, and each petal. And I'm using an angle brush, kind of curving it. Start with the middle. Don't outline. Start in the middle and then kind of squeeze your way out. I think there's a tendency to want to outline. Okay, and this little petal is coming behind our butterfly. Okay, now it's true they're all going to be yellow, so it's very pretty. Okay, now up here we're going to have another one, a little short one, like this. We'll leave a little space for that one. And then here, next to the butterfly, it will just be behind him. You really won't see where these petals are. Okay, so there's that one. All right, now let's come out this way, and I think I need a nice big petal going like that, and then one coming under here like this. And you'll notice I get new paint for each petal. People often say, how come your paint dries so quickly? Well, for one thing, the minute I start painting something and nothing happens, I get more paint. If you see me putting a few brush strokes and nothing happens, I'll reach right back into the paint and get more paint. Alright, so I'm going to sweep this one around like this. Okay, too much paint on the brush there, so we'll just pull a little off. Okay, like that. I'm going to sweep this one around like this. Maybe run that one off the canvas. That might be nice. Let's say this one is coming this way. This petal. Alright, we've got this one coming off. It's an interesting idea. It's just, take a background, particularly with when you're painting with multicolors of things. I think I want to put a piece of paper or something under this. That's what I want to do. I'm going to need to put a piece of paper under here. Let me just tear off here. Let me just come under here like that. There we go. All right, now I can kind of paint over the edge a little bit. This is my wax paper palette. Okay. Now it's going to come this way. Paint on both sides of the brush. Okay, I'm saying there's this. Now, if you're using a student grade paint and you do not have good white coverage, dry it and do this twice. I even have students that have really excellent paint, and they're just so funny with putting on the white. They do this thin layer and then they wonder why nothing works over it. It has to be like bedsheet white. So if it's starting to show through like this, what you need to do is come back when it's dry and give it a second coat of white. This is real important. Okay, we're going to say that this one's here like this. Okay, there's this one's out that way. I like this one. I'm going to bring that up a little further. Okay, and let's just take a little small one. I'm going to move this one and say that here's our little round thing here. We're going to say that we've got, this one is kind of looking away from us, so that the petals are almost bending down, so you're not going to see it right there. And we're going to come up here, make a little short one. Again, you see where if I'm painting and nothing happens, what am I doing? I'm getting more paint. Now this is nice because this yellow against this dark of the butterfly will be very pretty. Okay, so we've got, that's kind of nice. I don't know if we need anything else coming down from there. If I did, and then it's 1, 2, 3. I think we're just going to call it 3. 3 flowers. Okay, that's what we want to do, is call it 3 flowers. I kind of like that a lot where we do that. So what would we do next? Well, let's paint the butterfly in. There's a lot of green. There's a temptation, for instance, because there's green in the photograph, to want to put green in here. And I don't know that we want to do that. I know we want some nice, pretty yellow flowers, but we'll see about the green. We'll see what we're going to do next. But what I want to do now, while that's drying, is take my brush, or rather my pencil, okay, and I want to go ahead and put in our we have three shapes here. I have a shape like this, kind of an oval shape that's coming this way. Then I've got it's like a stained glass window. I think that butterflies probably inspired stained glass. Here's one here, and then there's a little space between it, kind of like diamond shape like this. And then we've got some little small ones, and I don't think any two patterns are ever quite the same on a butterfly, just like a zebra. So if yours are slightly different, don't worry about it. Okay, like that, to make sure we have a space between them. All right, that's that one. Now let's come up to this one. Let's see. I like this main shape right in here. That's coming this way down and curves like that. Okay, and let's see, I think I'm going to change pencil, see if I can get this into right a little better. Okay, now I've got a little one here. I don't have as much room, and let's see, I don't think that's giving me enough room, because I didn't make this, I don't think didn't make this wing big enough. We're going to come out here with this wing, way out here. We're going to make this wing wider like that. There we go. Now I have room for a few more. Okay, there we go. I'm going to put one right here like this, small one up here. I'm going to put a little space here, space here, space here. They just have to sort of fit in inside the parameters of what's going to be dark. Okay, and we want one up here like that. That's going to do this. Okay, all right, so I've got kind of that drawn in how I want the butterfly. Now what? Well, I want to take a very small brush and some dazzling purple and ultramarine blue, and I'm going to go ahead, instead of using black, which I know everybody wants to do that, I think I'm going to take phthalo blue, well, no, dazzling purple and ultramarine blue, and we're going to go ahead and paint all the dark spots on this like that. It's going to be very dark. It's going to look dark. Come along here like this. Okay. Dazzling purple, ultramarine blue. And I make sure that I've got that this area curves like this, and that the bottom of this is curved. That's real important. But this is curved like that. Okay, and it's a little fatter here, a little wider here. Butterflies are really fun to paint because they allow for a lot of imagination. So we're going to say that right along this line, we've got our butterfly. Then we're going to make sure we have enough blue on the brush and purple. Here's our scalloped edge. This edge is not scalloped. And on this side, right next to the flower, it's very thin. It's coming this way and this way. Okay. Yeah, now what? Well, okay. So then anything that we decided that is not a pattern, you know, our purple is going to be dark. So we've already put our pattern in. So we're just basically painting in the spaces in between this pattern that we put down, you know, these pretty colors that we've got going here. Now let's see, what have we got here? We've got something dark right there. It's a little wider here. Okay, here we go. Gonna have a little one there, right there. Now we could get this if you lose your design, don't panic. You can get it back. You remember that it's just little magenta. Okay, but again, this is, I think, is a fun thing to do with, just some leftover paint in the background. Okay. All right, now I'm going to come in here like this. Come around this one like that. And again, if I lose some of these spots, I can put them back. I think we're going to say that there's I'm going to make a new space here. Make some new ones. I don't quite like what I drew in, so I'm going to draw in some new ones here. Okay. Okay, I just need like the stained glass broken up little area. I think I'm going to paint all this dark and come in later with the color. There we go. Yeah, that's going to all be dark, and the same thing here. That'll all be dark. Coming on up here, and then our little guy, his little body is nice and dark. He's coming this way. His little head. And this back little curves. He'll have spots on him. He's real cute. Okay. All right. So there we go. That's now wherever there's a light, there's a dark, and you see that this background color is pretty dark in relationship to the butterfly. So he isn't glowing, he isn't showing up at all, but that's all right. We're not worried about that. Just going to paint him in. He's got a good underpainting on him. Okay, so then the other thing I want, it's really dark, is the center of this. But as long as I'm painting, I'm going to say here's the center of my daisy, and I want this really dark. And this will work as long as I dry it. Okay. As long as I dry it, that'll work, and that kind of explains it. And I don't think I want to put one here. I'll just bring this down a little lower. Okay. I'll bring this down a little bit wider, a little bit lower here. Okay. All right. So now we've got a butterfly, but he doesn't show up. So now what? Well, that's okay. We've got him in there. I like this sort of gold. I like the background that we've got going here. I think it's pretty, and it's just different. It's kind of imaginative. Sometimes you can get really stuck doing something with a photograph. So let's pause and dry for a minute. Okay, so what we've got going here now is we need another coat of white on our flower petals. Now they're dry. This is our next coat of white on here, like that. And this is really important. Don't skip this step. Do not want to skip this step. Okay, I want to make sure I have enough white on these petals. Mind how the tips look. Okay. Because yellow only paints over white. You hear me say this all the time, but it's true. Yellow only paints over white. And just kind of come up here like this, next to that fuzzy thing, right, like that. Let's do this one again. So once you know that, I'm going to paint all of these like this, all white again. I don't think you need to watch me paint them all white a second time, so I'm going to pause and finish painting those white. Okay, so the flowers parts are painted white. Now let's take some white and let's put some little tiny, going vertical kind of dots going up here like little raindrops on our little animal, little butterfly. You want some on the back of his back to kind of indicate the outline. A little bit smaller up here. Okay, now underneath here, this is interesting. We're going to do 2 rows. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Just white. Remember, yellow only paints over white. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then follow it up. This is how you determine which is in front of which. Then we get a little bigger ones as we come up here. Right, and then maybe a little bigger one right here like that. Okay, so you're starting to see it. Now let's do the same thing over here. This top row is a little wider, like this. And this, the back and the front are not the same, so make sure you have enough white on your little brush. Just making some little white dots. Then these are a little more random. And they get more oblong as they go up the back, outside of the butterfly. A little more oblong, and make sure you have enough white so this covers, just like your daisies. And we're going to just say something like that happened here. Now we're going to come up just a little bit further than they did. Okay, so than the actual butterfly, but we're going to say that there's our little white dots. Now that's very interesting to me. I think that's very pretty. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take a color. Let's see, what would I like to have? This is called Naples Yellow. I'll put a little of that out. It's a very light yellow. And maybe we'll put out magenta. Let's see, let me move some of my paint out of the way here. Maybe a little magenta. See what we get with that. So I'm going to take a little Naples yellow, and that's interesting. It makes sort of a pink color, doesn't it? Oh, okay, so I don't quite want that. So what would I want? Let's try a little cad red medium. Okay, now let's add to there a little tiny bit of that. Okay, well that's pretty. Okay, now let's see what happens if we got out. So let's just practice mixing a few other colors. Let's try cad red medium, cad yellow medium. Okay, it's a bright yellow. Let's just play with some colors for a minute. Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of the magenta in the cad yellow medium, like that. Make this sort of, oh, that's the color I want right there. Magenta and cad yellow medium. Okay. Now I'm going to come along in here like this, and paint the inside of this butterfly where this where his pattern is, right over that magenta. That's pretty, isn't it? We want one right here like that. Make sure you're getting new paint for each one of these. Okay. All right. Now, what could we do? Let's take a little bit of yellow and Naples yellow, like that. And let's do a few little highlights on this, like this, in a couple of places. Little highlights. Naples yellow and cad yellow medium. Just a few little, almost like lights in a window, like that. Let's just add a few little lights, little highlights. There. All right, now suddenly you see what's happening here. We've got the kind of this pretty orange color. Okay, now we're going to use this color, more of this yellow color, for the front part of this. Okay, and the reason we're not painting these white is we don't want this to compete with the daisies. Alright, so we're going to say here's a little bit of just yellow, and since yellow doesn't paint well over anything but white, this will be a duller yellow just because this is the color we're putting on. Alright, it won't be as bright, it can't be. We'll come under here like this, and put this in a little bit right there, another little tiny bit right there. Okay, now I'm going to add a little tiny bit of that pink color with it, magenta, and as I come down here and add a little bit down toward the tip here, so this part here is almost pink. This is interesting. There's a lot of colors in this. People always like to say that I'm the master of color. Sometimes it's fun just to play around with it, you know, not be too conventional. Use your imagination. Try some other things. Okay, now look what's happening to our butterfly. And there we go. A little bit more magenta and yellow. Let's do that. Right in. No, let's try a little Naples. Let's try that. And what? Naples and, yeah, there we go. In here like this. It's a little darker than I want. Let's put a little magenta with that. Don't want that bright, that bright. Okay, so I got a little magenta down here. Now how about a little magenta, and let's do some color in here now. Maybe some magenta and white. Let's do a light pink. Okay, now I'm gonna a little bit of white, a little bit of magenta, and it's a light pink, and I'm going to come in here like this, and I want to just indicate something a little brighter down here on one, just like we did before. There we go, like that. Just something a little brighter. I think up here too, I want a little bit of that bright, there you go, a little bit of that bright pink color up here like this. There, that, oh, that's pretty. Now let's put a little of that pink color right here. Okay, there we go, up here at the top. And so now we've got a really interesting little butterfly. We haven't glazed back any of this, which we will do. Okay, these all get a little bit glazed back, but we can, you know, every once in a while, if you want to put a little highlight, you know, we can come back. Do we want a little highlight somewhere on some of these? You know, just in a couple of places, a little highlight. Ooh, it's too bright. Let's put a little pink there. And then a little bit of yellow. There we go. Okay, so now there's our butterfly without painting any of that. Now, is this white dry? Probably. So now what happens? Alright, so we're going to take some cad yellow medium and some white. Let's take some more white with that, make kind of a light yellow color. Alright, now I want to come back like this over my white and paint in the first layer of the yellow on my flowers. Okay, and I'm going to get a little more cad yellow medium, make these front ones a little brighter, less white in the flowers. Okay, there we go. Now we haven't put any of the shadows in on these flowers, but we've got a very nice tone now to that first yellow. Well, let's do that on these others too. A little more white on these ones over here. Let's just put some white and light yellow over these. I like the purple and yellow are complements. The magenta, I think, is a very pretty background. Everybody always does green, but I would say that the magenta and the yellow make a very pretty background. Now we're going to a little bit more yellow with this. Okay, a little bit stronger as we come down. We still haven't put any of the pattern on here, you know, as far as the shadows go or anything for this flower. But okay, let's just come back up here on the top and do this before we dry. Then we'll take a moment and we'll dry everything and see where we are. Okay, now as long as I'm doing that, I'm going to say that this is going to take a little bit of yellow and glaze over these little white spots like that, just a tiny bit. Let's take a little bit of yellow oxide and let's see, make a little orange in a couple places. Just hit this a little bit like that. Okay. We start putting down some of these spots. Now, another color we could use is another good color would be yellow oxide. I don't like, you know, it's a hot day, the lights are hot. I don't like to put out colors till we need them. But yellow oxide's a good color. We're going to use that as a shadow color too. And I'm going to put out a little yellow oxide here. Okay. Now, I'm going to try a little bit of this yellow oxide color on a couple of these. Make those a little bit darker. That's a little darker than I want, so there we go. A little bit. Mix it with some cad yellow medium right over here like that. Okay, now what about these? These little bits of yellow right here. Okay, now I'm going to rinse my brush. I've got a little bit of water on the brush, but there's still paint like this, and I'm just going to stain back. I'm not really, this is just the leftover paint on my brush. I'm just sort of glazing over these little white spots right like this. There we go. Put a little of that color right here too. That's pretty. Trying to brighten these up back here. Okay. Now our butterfly's starting to come to life, isn't he? Yeah, let's put a little light right here like that. Okay, alright, so that's looking lovely. Okay, so the butterfly's looking pretty good. We need a little bit more something on our flower. Okay, so we need some shadows on our flower. So here's some yellow oxide, and we're going to put this in sort of spaces. Okay, so we're just going to say there's a little bit of that. Leaves almost like lines. This is there we go. We got the bottom of this one we want pretty dark here like that. Okay, just yellow oxide. Now we're going to do a few little shadowy things like that on our outward petals like that. Okay, so sort of push that flower in the background. Alright, that's good. We've kind of pushed it back like this. Alright, so now what can we do with our little picture? Okay, well, you see how bright these yellow flowers are? They're too bright. So we're going to dry them and we're going to glaze over them. Okay, so first off I'm going to take a little yellow oxide here and I'm going to make a couple underpainting leaves under here like this. I'm going to say that there's some darker petals coming this way on this flower like that, and I just want a couple. I want it just a little bit darker. I didn't put that in yet, and I want to make sure that I have a little bit of dark in a shadow form right this way from our butterfly. Okay, so already that's a little bit, just not quite a yellow leaf. See that? It's not quite a yellow leaf. Okay, I might even add a little bit of cad red medium and make a little orange color. Okay, let's just come here like this and just make that a little darker. So again, we're going to start adding some color to these petals. Okay, and that's just a little bit, kind of a little bit of an orange color right up here like that. Let's see, let's put a little of our yellow and white back. I got that too far. Here, just fix that. Okay, so now let's take a little bit of that color too. Give it a second coat. Maybe with a little cad red medium in it and magenta, make a little orange color with that yellow oxide. There we go. Let's just put a little bit of, just a slight bit of color in this flower. Okay. Alright, so that's a little better here. And the same thing here. I want to take a little bit of this color here and just dot this on top of here like that on our little stem so it's not so bright. The same thing here. We're going to dot these little tiny, so just the corner of our brush, we're going to dot some little tiny bits here like this all the way around, and the ones on this side are a little bigger. Okay. Alright, so we've got some little tiny dots there. Now let's take a little bit of white. Ooh, too much paint. Pinch our brush just on the corner here, just on the corner. Let me zoom in so you can see it. Okay, just on the corner of the brush. And you're going to come in here and very gently, maybe in a circle, dot these highlights on top of here like that on this side. The light might be shining on that. Okay. Little tiny bit of white just on the corner. Okay, and I'm not putting anything, if anything's on that side, they're very tiny. Okay, so there's our little dotty things here, top of that. Alright. Now, I want these, I'm not, you know, I want to see some contrast here for my butterfly. This is too close to the same value, so I'm not going to get anywhere with that. So we're going to have to add some color here. So I've got a little phthalo blue, a little phthalo in yellow. I've got a little phthalo green going in. I'm add a little magenta to it. So now I've got this sort of melted kind of, I guess, kind of a gray-green color. I'm going to suggest in here like that there's some leaves in the background here. Or whatever else I've got going. Okay, well, it's just magenta, cad yellow medium, and phthalo blue. Okay, and I want to come up here and underneath our guy here and just suggest that there might be some sort of greenery, but we're going to see some of this purple sticking in the background like that. Okay, kind of a crosswork, patchwork thing here like that. We're just going to kind of simplify this a bit. Now see what's happened is our butterfly is showing up because, why? butterfly showing up because we have some lights and darks next to him. So if we're saying that there's something light here like that, again, this is sort of made up leaves. It doesn't have to be too perfect here. I'm just saying it's a little bit lighter around here. Now let's gray this back. Do we have any purple? We do. So yellow and purple. Let's take a little yellow and purple. That's kind of pretty. A little bit of yellow oxide, or rather phthalo blue with that. Now this is a bright, different green. Let's make this, oh, there's the ultramarine blue. Let's make a darker green here for a minute. Okay. Now what have we got going here? Maybe we're going to say in this corner, we've got a little bit darker green going here. Just a bit, nothing too crazy. All kind of in a patchwork. So the background that we had initially just was something, you know, we just needed something on our background. Now I'm going to come up here like that and make this a little smaller. Maybe there's a little leaf here that's a little smaller. Okay. Alright, now this flower and this butterfly are fighting for attention. Okay. So let's just lighten up something here. It's a little bit of white here. I want a little bit of white just in a couple places, in the lighter green, just in a few places here, kind of up by my butterfly. Okay, just kind of in a little petal effect. Okay. I think if you get too meticulous with this, you won't be happy with it. You gotta kind of allow this to be sort of fun. Okay, and maybe I'm gonna just take that petal out here like that completely. Okay, like this and that little. Okay, there's our little flower, and let's see, what could I do? I don't want it gone that much, but let's see. Take some yellow. Okay, where'd our yellow go? Okay, where'd the yellow go? We just had it out here. Okay, so. Alright, now I'm going to take a little bit of this yellow here, put it this way. There we go, there's that part of that flower, okay. And here like this, let's put a little of this right here like that. There's this yellow, okay. So, now, if I add a little bit of green to this yellow, just the tiniest bit, I can tone it back down just a hair, so that this isn't so in your face. It's still yellow, but it's got a little bit of a green tint to it. There, like that. So we tone those flowers down just a hair, and we'll glaze them over a little bit more from there. Let's see. Alright, so make sure we've got some dark right here, like that. Okay. Here we go. Now, I'm going to dry everything. Then we're going to come back and glaze over this flower even more. Okay, so this is pretty dry, and I'm still looking at this. I want the butterfly to be my center of interest. I don't want it to be fighting with these flowers. Okay, that's my main thing. I don't want it to be fighting with those flowers. We'll take a little magenta and water, just a little tiny bit of magenta and water, just a little bit like that. The first thing, one thing I want to do is I want to just sort of glaze over the center of that flower with just a little bit of a pink color like that. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this, a little bit of magenta and water. Okay, that's all it is. I'm going to glaze over this flower here. Just tone this one down, a little bit magenta. See if I can put some more magenta out so that you can kind of see what I'm doing. This flower was too bright, and what I want is the butterfly to be bright, not the flower. So here we go. I'm going to sort of glaze over this flower just like this, a little bit of paint, a little bit of water. Okay, like that. Okay, there we go. Now, how about this back one too? Yeah, let's just tone this one back, way back here too. Still way too bright. Okay, so now what we have to do is, now everything's kind of the same value all by itself. Let's put a little bit on this one too. Let's glaze it back here, this way from here. Let's just tone this one back. We'll leave some of that yellow showing. Alright, so now I'm going to come back and try for some white highlights. I'm going to say that there's some, I'm going to have a white highlight here maybe on this flower. A little bit of a white highlight right there, and let's see, let's put a little yellow with it. A little bit right here maybe. A little bit of yellow and white here. Okay, there. Now, alright, that's better. There we go. Okay, so now what can we do with our, like this part of the flower? Let's just pull a little bit of a magenta color right here like this. And around there like that. Just kind of tone that one back. A little bit of white, a little bit of yellow. We'll add just little dashes of this color now. Okay, alright, so there we go, that's better. I'm going to just, we've got this one coming around here like that. How about here too, a little bit brighter right here. Bring that one down. And I don't want anything coming this way from this. A little bit of yellow by his head. Maybe we'll just add a little yellow petal right there by his head. That's kind of nice. We're going to do this. Bring this one out. Okay. A little bit of yellow right by his head like that. And maybe back here, we're just going to suggest yellow in our leaves. I'm going to suggest there might be something else happening in here like this with some yellow. So it's a, you know, alright, so there we go. Okay, so now what do we want to see? Well, what I want to see is a little bit more pizzazz in our butterfly. And I know he's pretty well camouflaged in. If I took some yellow here like this, went over these white spots again, lighten those up. And I think I want to take some pink and white, and I want some pizzazz here. I want him a little bit more pizzazz on the actual butterfly itself. So I'm going to add a little pink to him like this. Okay, and then let's take a little bit of white paint and yellow. And let's add some highlights to this guy where he might be picking up the flowers around him like that. Okay. Okay, that's nice. Now what? Okay, so I'm saying that the white spots here, which is where your head's going, we're going to glaze those over with a little magenta. Just say that a little bit of pink on these white spots so they're not so bright. Just barely touch it with just magenta and water, okay? Alright, that's nice. Now, let's go back to our purple. Do we have any purple out? Let's see, it was tucked under here somewhere. I like to leave everything out that I'm using, so I don't have to go chase it down. Here's some purple. Right, now we need some contrast here, so let's come back with our dazzling purple. Come back and make the contrast for the outline of our butterfly a little better. Because we lost a little bit of that when we were painting him in, right? Okay, so that's pretty strong. Let's make sure these lines here are strong. Make sure this is a good strong line here at the outside of the butterfly, like that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm wondering if we can't do a little bit of ultramarine blue and yellow and make a real dark green with a little magenta in it. Let's make a really dark green. Let's get some darker values going in here to sort of balance off this. Okay. Just in a few places. Let's darken. Darken it down here. A few little dark spots like that. Sorry, let's get a little more contrast on our butterfly. I don't want to get too carried away, because I mean, you have to be careful where you put it. If you put it against something too light, your eye will go there. So that's pretty good right there. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Make sure we have these separations. Separations between the colors on here. Okay, that's good. Alright, so what about his cute little feeties and stuff? We could do that. We could do something with that. But I think what I want to do is get a little green going. And see, green. It's got to be phthalo blue, which you and I all saw. We just had out. Yeah, okay, a little phthalo blue. That phthalo blue makes your real bright spring greens. Makes some really bright greens. That's what I want, a little bit of brighter green here, right? And right by his head, right next to his head, I want a little bit brighter green right up here like this. Normally I don't like to use this green, but I want right next to him, I want this brighter green. A couple of places, almost like color surprise. We're going to just add it. There, so the brightest green, we can even add a little white to that, but it still will be very, very bright. The brightest green is going to be kind of almost like a jewel tone next to him. See that? So that's going to make him kind of show up. Okay. So that's pretty. I really like that. I almost want to put a little in here too. Down like this. That's nice. Alright, that's pretty. I'm looking, where else would I want that color? If I had some more white with it, a little bit more white with it, I might put something very light here, very bright there. Okay. So again, you can see what we're doing is we're creating some color interest in the painting, and doing this as I'm seeing where I need a little color. Maybe I need a little bit of a darker green back here. Okay, so make this a little bit darker. So here's a little darker green back there in that background. Okay. Alright, so far so good. Now I got to dry this, and then what we're going to do is put in the little, his little feeties and all that stuff. Okay. And let's take some white. Let me just take the corner of my brush here. I'm going to just come back up here and put a few little white spots Just a few. I'm going to just bring a little bit of attention to him. Okay. Wherever there's a light, there's a dark, but your eye will go to the lightest light and the brightest bright. So if I say that this is a lighter spot back here, okay, and then when I dry it, if I come back and glaze over that a little bit, that will be very light. Okay. Alright, that's good. That's pretty. Let's dry it. Okay, so now I'm going to just take some water on my brush and a little bit of blue and magenta to make this dark color. You could use purple. And I've got a little tiny brush, very tiny detail brush. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a little leg on here like this. It's going to come almost reminds me of a dog's leg, so where it bends back here and then it's on here like that. It's got like a little thigh, and then he's got one that's coming up this way and then straight back down on here. And he's got a little foreleg. It's coming up this way, kind of high like that, like a knee. And it's really long and it bends down like that. And then he's got these little antennae that are coming way out here like this, very skinny. And then bend like this. The other one's coming up this way. Bends out like this. You have to get new paint for each one. Keep it just on your tip. Make sure you have enough water on the brush so you're able to do this. Keep this very thin. Make sure you're nice and dry, so if you don't quite get it the first time, then you can get it the next time like that. I'm going to say that this came back like this. I'm going to make his tummy a little fatter right here. Okay, so there's our antennae, and then he's got some white, and now this is where the white comes in, a little bit of white. It's a tiny bit of white on the top of this one. On the top of this leg right here, there's a little white highlight. Okay. There you go, down to this leg. And let's see, let's take a little bit of white now and just do a couple little white dots on here like that, on his back like that. Okay, so now there's his top. Let's see, what else would I like to do? I think that's pretty. I think that I'm pretty close to being done with what I want to do with this. I just might take a little bit of green and sort of, you know, separate a few flowers, maybe a little bit right in here like that. Just when I've got the little brush, maybe I want to separate something. Remember, nothing's outlined. Please don't just go take purple and outline these flowers. You're not going to like it. You know, you don't want to do that. But okay, so now let's see, what else could we do? I'm just kind of looking at this, going, that's kind of cute. I think I want a little more white here on the top of this ball right here. A bit of light pink up here like that. A few little more dots up here like this. The very top of this one. I'm going to make that bigger right there. And we're kind of close to done. I think he's kind of cute. And again, I can just show you, just, you know, we took this butterfly, okay, and just, and if you want to come back now with your little brush and a little bit of white and yellow and make a few little dots in here. Now you can come back with a little tiny brush a few little more dots, that's okay. There you go. We're just going to kind of jazz up our butterfly just a hair. And we've got a few little light strokes here. Just a few little light strokes in this this little area right here. Like each one of these little panes has a little bit of a highlight to it. Alright, so now I'm going to just dry this for a second and come back with the final stuff. Okay, so I'm looking at this thinking what I need to do, and now I'm just looking at this, I need to bring this petal off the canvas like this. This needs to come all the way off from a design standpoint. Though I didn't draw it in that way, that needs to come off. Okay, like that. See, that just needs to sort of come off, and this one needs to come down a little further like that. Okay, like that. That's better. And I've got a little bit of yellow on that brush here, and I'm just looking to see where else I could put some yellow. I'd like a little bit of yellow right under this, right under our butterfly. Just put a little bit of yellow right there, just something so he shows up, because wherever there's a light there's a dark. So if I put a little yellow right there, just a little spot of yellow, I don't even have to explain it. I'm just saying there's a little bit of yellow, maybe a little touch of yellow right here next to him, like that. That kind of makes him, you know, kind of stand out and be in front. Okay, and let's do something kind of wild and crazy. You're going, what could that be? I don't know. Let's try something. All right, so I've got some blue. Took the phthalo blue and white. Okay, let's just start. Let's do a little color surprise. Okay, so I'm just going to play with something a minute. If we don't like it, we can take it out. I'm trying to think where I would want a little phthalo blue and white. Right like that. Up here. Okay, now, it's not in the real butterfly, it's not there. But what this does, okay, it doesn't, you don't need a lot of this. Phthalo blue and white, is it gives a little bit of color surprise here. Now if you put it everywhere, it wouldn't be a surprise. Okay, so there's just a tiny bit of that. Like that, just a tiny bit of that phthalo blue and white right up there. Okay, maybe right down here on his back. Okay. All right, so I just wanted a little bit of something there. Maybe I'll put it here too. It's got to be light. Can't be dark blue. It's got to be light blue. Okay, a little bit of light blue, just a touch. Okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, I actually quite like that. How about right here too? A little bit more blue. There we go, right there. Okay. All right. Now, see, I think that's, you know, that sort of brings your eye, because, you know, this is the center of interest right here, where a little animal is, a little butterfly. So now, how can we make this be more prominent? So we've got to have, this is the darkest dark and the lightest light, but also we can do that with color. So this is kind of a little lesson in how to play with color a little bit. So if we said that color was there, what is the complement of turquoise? It's orange. So if we said that was there, now watch what happens if we add a little bit of orange. Cad yellow medium, cad red medium, a little bit of orange to this little butterfly here. Now we're going to start making his little body kind of be a little bit brighter. See that? Now what happens here? Here we go. Okay, a little bit of orange right next to that blue. Make sure your blue is dry. So now he's certainly showing up now, huh? And that's pretty. So where else could we put that? Well, if we put some white with this, we can make like a little bit of cad red medium, a little bit of white. Okay. Now we've got almost a peach color. Okay. So now let's see, what can we do here? Like that, but lighter. Let's see, what do we got? Where could we put that? Something right back here, maybe. and maybe over here. Okay, so now our butterfly is starting to, show up really very well. Okay, so I'm going to make this line a little bit bigger here, like this. I'm going to come back here and thicken this line up, right back on the back of the butterfly, like that. So if I make this bolder, okay, all I have to do is just make him a little bit bigger. Okay, let's just take a little Dazzling Purple and make him a little bit bigger here, back here, like this. Just extend the wing down. Okay, now, see, now he's starting to show up there, and then the same thing here. I'm going to say I want it real dark here, where there's an outline for butterfly. I'll just cover that one up. See, it's real dark there. Okay, now I'm starting to bring him forward. Okay, so then what can we do? This is what the little brushes can be very useful for, is to make sure that you've got enough dark and separation between these little areas of the wing. Okay, so right there, there's a little spot that it's a little unclear. So we're going to just tighten that up. Tighten it up. There you go. So I'd say we're doing pretty well here, and I think I will just here where I'd sign this, maybe probably just sign it right here on one of these petals. We'll just sign it right here like this. Take a little white and just sign it on the petals. I don't think I'm going to do anything else. If I do anything else, it will be at the very beginning of the video, and I will have told you already. Okay? And then we'll put our little slash through the little petal like this. Okay, a little red slash, which is like this. There we go, through my name. There you go. Alright, so there's our butterfly. I think that's kind of like a jewel among the flowers. If you think we've got sort of a plain little photograph like this, it's very pretty, but I mean just not a lot to it. I think there's a little pink thing at the end of here. I'm seeing this. I don't know what it is, but we're putting it in real quick. We're going to put in, there's a little pink magenta and white here. Mostly white, little pink. Like a little on the end of him. Okay, like that. There you go. Just put that there because it's in the picture. So I'm putting it. Yeah, that's a good thing to do. I'm putting it because it's in the picture. This comes around like that. Okay, there's the top of his head. Alright, you guys. That's it. I think you can kind of see this. And you can kind of see this. And I think we're doing real well with this. And I think we will just, at the very end, there may be a couple things I want to do. I see it now. I'm going to pause it and come back and show you what I did. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone back and I've done some white highlights because I got to looking at this and thought I liked some of the light under here on this. At first I thought I wanted it dark, but I kind of liked the light. So I went back and did white. Now I've got some yellow. I'm just going to come back over this right like that, right where I did the light. And you see, and I've did it right over here too, just a couple spots. Added some light yellow. I'm going to come up here and say the sun's catching it right here, like there. Now if you don't put white, it won't be as bright, but here it is, right like that. So I've added a few more bits of yellow, like that. Okay, there we go. Just, okay. So I think that's very nice. And then what I want to do, I like that. Just add a few more bits of yellow to these flowers. And then what I want to do is make this a little bit bigger here, up here. Let's just darken this. Make that a little bit bigger, this little top one. The same thing here. Let's just darken this here and add a few Make sure it's very bumpy on the edges. You don't want a circle, okay? And then we'll add a few more, and that kind of balances that out. Then we'll just take a little brush and see, where'd that tiny little brush go? We just had it here. Just take a little brush like this, take a little bit of white, and we're going to just dot this like that. Like this one, and we're going to dot this one with a little bit of magenta and white. So we don't want that as dark, as bright. Okay, so those are our little, flowers back over there. And I think that that looks really cute, kind of like this. And I like the magenta. I like some of these. I like the magenta as sort of a dark, background color on a flower like that, kind of coming in as a shadow. That's pretty. Okay, and how about right here? There. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so I would say that that's pretty. I'm looking at this in the monitor, saying where else would I want something lighter, right? Right in here, maybe. Just a little bit of magenta and white. Let's try that. Still playing with this butterfly. I want it to really just be like a jewel, like you might buy a pin. Okay, there you go. A little bit of light right down here, like that. A little bit of pink, light pink. There you go. Ooh, pretty. How about back up here? Nice. Okay, so I think I'm saying that that's pretty good. Now let's take some Cad Red Medium, and which is pure, really, we haven't changed anything, right? Just a few dots of that. Few dots, not very much, right? Tiny bit, just a few, just like that. And I'll bring your eye in there. Maybe I want a little on this one too, on this side of the flower. A little bit of Cad Red Medium on that side. There we go. Okay, I guess I could play around with this for a while, but I think this is fun. I think this is a very good example of how to do this. Now, what we want to do up here by the head is we want to make these little dots smaller. So we're going to come up and kind of have them, put them in, kind of, if you made them, just make them teenier like that. There you go. Little dots way on top of the head. I think that's better than some big. The biggest ones are down by the body, and the other ones are up by the head. And then you want to make sure that we've got them all separated like that. Okay. There. I'm saying, all right, I'll quit. That's fun. All right, so then when we do the introduction, I'll kind of explain some of the stuff that I thought we would go back and do. And but we've got a good start on this. And let's see. Let's just come back under here like this with a little green. There we go. There we go. A little dark green under that petal. And I think I like our light highlights on our on these daisies. I like our light highlights. There's some yellow oxide. Just kind of separating that right there like that. Okay. And we're good to go, you guys. This was fun. I hope you had fun doing it. And when John and I like to try different things and suggest different things that you guys might like. So next time I do a live show, maybe we'll do some other kinds of butterflies too. I think that would be a fun thing to do. Don't mind me why I kind of separate a couple of these little dots up that got kind of interfered with. Just kind of clean those up. Make sure there's a space between the bottom of that. There you go. Jeweled a butterfly. There we go, you guys. Hope you had fun with that. Okay, so this is a supplemental to our introduction. I decided to show you in the videos what it would take to do this painting if you change the color of the butterfly. So at the very end of it, all right, I change the butterfly into these blue tones. So all I'm going to suggest you do is, if you decide that you would rather do the blue than the color that we originally did, which was more of a camouflage to do the flowers, just leave all these center parts white and then just finish the rest of the painting, and then you can come back at the end and I'll show you how to do this at the end of the video. You can fast forward to get to this part. So I just thought you'd like to see how this might work. I thought I wanted to show you a couple of options on what you could do with the painting. I think this is really pretty. Hope you enjoy it. And don't forget to put some likes, have some happy comments. If you have questions that need detailed answers, please write me at gingercooklive.gallery. We've got a lot of great videos on in our website to practice and learn about color. And I think this is a really good example of what color surprise does, and how color and your color wheel can really help you create beautiful art. Okay, here's my final piece, and I just want to show you what would happen is if you change the colors. I do this sometimes. Paint something like this. I'm going to show you what happens, alright? Let's just take a moment and let's just change the colors of our butterfly and see what happens. I want you to see that, because sometimes as artists, you'll do something, you'll get to a point, you're thinking, well, it's nice, nothing wrong with it, it's nice, but what could I do? Could I do something that would have a big impact? Well, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to white out all the colors. Let's just take a minute. This is just going to take a second. You don't need to see me paint this all over again. So I'm just going to take a small brush like this. I'm going to white out all the sections of this butterfly, just like this. And I'm going to come back when these are all white and dry, okay? So you don't need to see me paint every one of these. I just want you to see what would happen if I did. Okay, now you can see how here that it's all white. Do you see that? Now I'm going to use a little bit of varnish as a glazing medium. This is just gloss medium and varnish. Now what I'm going to do is take a tiny bit of phthalo green and white, like that, or rather not white, just glazing medium, right? I'm going to come over the top of these. The reason we're using a medium, because that's why it's called medium and not just varnish, is because we can use it as a glazing medium, and you can get it a lot thinner than if we didn't have. Now if I want a little more color to that, I can still add a little more color if I want a couple of these a little brighter. But this is our, now I'm going to take a little bit of Southern Ocean Blue, which is a Matisse color. And you can also get that by mixing phthalo green and phthalo blue together, green shade, alright? I'm going to come up here on my my other little bits of white, okay, like this. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Let's want a little bit more blue. Let's try a little phthalo in some of this too. Here's some phthalo. Very clear. That's sort of the green shade. Here we go. A little bluer. There we go. Maybe some of this other color, like that. Okay, so now we've got a little Southern Ocean Blue. A little more of that. Maybe just slightly different. Okay. And that changes the whole picture. Have you noticed that we've changed the whole painting just by changing the color on the butterfly? Alright, changed the whole thing. Just doing that changed it. Okay. Now, we're not through yet. Let's do a little more of this green. That's sort of pretty. I like this phthalo green color. Let's put a little of that going up this way. Okay, maybe a little bit here. Just over these yellow ones too. That's pretty. I'm going to put his head. Just going to kind of glaze over those, alright? So we've sort of changed, now not just sort of, we dramatically changed this butterfly. Okay, now, well, we're not done. And I just wanted you to see that, you know, as artists, take a chance, be willing to try something else. I'm going to take a little now Dazzling Purple and a little bit of medium. Make it very, very thin. Okay? Now let's see if we have to dry it first. Well, that's pretty, and I like it, but I think I want some white with that. So let's just try a little purple and white. Let's add a little bit of purple and white to that. There we go. Yeah, it needed a little bit of white. Here, a little bit of purple up here on the top of these, like that. Let's put a little bit of white with it. Like this. There we go. Now, isn't that changing this dramatically? Okay. Now, you wouldn't want to go too dark because it wouldn't show up against the darker background. But a little bit of light purple up here toward the top of these. So we have the blue and the purple. Okay. Now we've got, I'm just going to back up just a little bit. See, we've got a whole different painting, don't we? And you know, is one better or the other? Is right or wrong? No, not necessarily, but sometimes it's just, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just personal preference. Sometimes you just want something a little different. And that's okay too. We take a little bit of Southern Ocean blue and white now, change the blue from a kind of a glaze. See what this does. Maybe a little more dramatic blue in a couple places. The glazing will give you your most translucent color. Will make the butterfly look the most translucent. So you can have a combination of those. You could use glazing medium too, just that you probably all have the varnish. So that makes sense to me, doesn't it? If you all have the varnish. Now, but how about a little bit of white highlight in something here like this? Maybe coming up here like this and say there's a light highlight. Maybe even we could do a yellow highlight if we were careful. Okay? Now, just going to show you that. So you could do a yellow highlight if you were careful. And what I mean by that is that if you haven't dried it, you can just do like a little dot or something of yellow, just if you wanted to. Now look what happens. A little bit of yellow over the blue and it goes a little green. Do you see that? Because it's still wet. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? So this is a good way, something like this is a good way to play with colors. See what happens when I put a little yellow right over these ones. They kind of turns them green a little bit. Okay, that's pretty. Little cad yellow light. There you go. Here's a little bit of a green there. Look at that. So now we've got a different butterfly, don't we, than the one we had before. And it's all jewel tones. And I mean, I think that this is a nice contrast because purple and yellow are opposite each other on the color wheel. So that's really pretty. Now the other color you could add to that, going, oh no, she's got more. I do. I said, what would happen if you add a little bit of magenta and a little bit of the varnish as a glazing medium? What would happen if you just had a touch of that color up here? Would you have to dry it first? Okay, I'm just saying, you know. So now suddenly that could be pretty. You could overdo it, but maybe just right. Let's try a little magenta and white now. See what we get. Almost a pink. See what that happens. Okay, that's pretty. See? Now, look, just tiny bits. Dry it in between. I think you'll like it better. But all right, that's, I think, really pretty. And let's see, I've got a little dot maker here. I'm going to do something kind of fun. I've got one of these little dot makers. They use them for nails. They have a little round ball on the end. I'm going to just take some yellow, make a dot. Well, let's not do that. Let's do purple. That'd be pretty. Let's take some purple and do a dot in these. Be hard to do with a brush, but you can take one of these little dot makers, do some little, almost like little eyes in the bottom part of these patterns on the bottom of the butterfly, little dots. Okay, that's sort of cute. maybe I'll put a black dot in some of these, like this up here, like that. A few little black dots. I mean, you don't have to do it. It's almost purple, but again, it's just a thought. Just up on top, maybe a few little black, these dark dots. You know, I'm just saying that you've got, you know, you could do more than one butterfly too. If something ever really completely finished, you could do certainly more than one butterfly. Okay, you could look up butterflies and then kind of make up your own. Go look up a butterfly. Don't think we need dots on all of them, but that's kind of cool, right? Just a few little dots. That's kind of different. And then probably as a final thing, I would take my small brush. Let me just put some of these away in water. Take my tiny brush with the dark purple. You could use black too. This would be one where you could definitely use black. And I might if I messed up a little bit here and you know, separate some of these again. When I got a little carried away with my white. See that? I'll just sort of clean this up a bit. Just with another little layer of purple where it's appropriate. Because again, I sort of, when I went to the white, I don't think I was that careful when I separated them. Okay? And you can just, just take a moment and do that. Just kind of separate your stuff. There you go. So I think that's pretty. I think, do you like one better than another? I don't know. I kind of like the blue. That's why I was tempted to go back and show you what the blue. I think it's really easy when you get to following a photograph and you get inspired by the colors of the photograph. It's very hard to get away from the photograph because you get almost married to it. Does that make sense? I'm going to take a little bit of light blue now. Come up here on the legs and just do a little bit of light blue on these legs. Okay? Just because, I think that's kind of nice, right, like that. A little bit of light blue on the legs. And, let's see, what could we do here? Let's take some purple and white. Make this sort of light purple color. Let's put a little bit of light purple dots on, even lighter than that. Let's go really light. Right here on this part of the flower. Now look what that did. I think that's much more interesting than the red. Just, I think it's prettier. And again, this is all personal preference, but don't be afraid to just here's some lighter purple dots on this one. There we go. In the center of this flower, make it a little more purple. I mean, there's reality, and then you're the artist, so it doesn't have to be real to make this work. And I think, gosh, I think that's, I have to say it, and again, I know this is personal preference, but I really quite like this, and I like the idea of the pink and the turquoise. Really like the idea of that. Okay, I just think that looks great. So I hope you do too. Anyway, this was just a fast example of how you can take something that's pretty commonly, ordinary. Let's see, we want a little bit darker facing us. I'm going to make this a little bigger. And changing it into something spectacular. I think the color combination, because remember, complements are, they really excite the eyes, what they do. So when a complement is any color that's opposite itself on the color wheel, purple is opposite yellow. So you can see when we added the purple and a little bit of the turquoise blue, which kind of complements orange, that gets really pretty. And then since turquoise does complement orange, would we want to come back here? Now she's going again, right? Would we want to come back and maybe add a little bit of orange? Let's see, could we take a little bit of yellow and just alizarin crimson? I have some out. Okay, now do we have any more orange? Do we have anything? No, it's not bright enough. Okay, so let's just be bold here, you guys. Take a little cad red medium, and mostly yellow with a tiny bit of cad red medium. And I want to just show you, because remember, turquoise and orange are complements. So if I just right here just right here, maybe right there. I add a little tiny bit, a little bit brighter orange right there. Okay, right there, and maybe right here. I'm just going to add a little bit, just as like a color surprise. Okay. Now, you see, look at that, look at that. Now let's do it down here too. Let's just come right under here like this, and just brighten up a couple of places. People always, say, you're such, your colors are so great. Part of the reason is sometimes you'll do something like this, and it won't even show. And people won't even notice it. It'll show, but they won't notice what you've done. Okay, so like something like this, because that's pretty strong, I'll just take some yellow and soften that out here like this, maybe bring it down so it's not so bold, okay? And I might be tempted to put a little bit here too, just bring this down a little bit like that. There. Now, what do we have? Well, and then Pure Cad Red. Now I'm going to do a little bit of Pure Cad Red right here. Only place, right there, Pure Cad Red. Okay? Oh, I guess I have some there, maybe a touch right there, just a dot. Okay? Now what we've got, and do we have anything in here? Let's see, let's do this. Will that show up if we did a little dot right there? It doesn't really show up. I'm thinking of like a little red dot in the middle of these, but I don't think it shows up. All right, just leave it alone. All right, I'll stop. I think that's really pretty. No, can't stop here. I want a little bit of this red, kind of a light orange color coming out from under here now. To complement. Now we've changed the color scheme, so I'm just complement this. Okay, just like that. There we go. Complement that a little bit right there. Maybe here. Little tiny bit. Then I've got some red over here, which I don't want, so I'm going to take a little bit of light purple and get rid of the red that's here. So this is our light purple on the flower, like that. And let's come up here and brighten up his little head and face a little bit here. Okay. All right. And let's make it a little bit darker right there. Okay. There we go. Just make his little face a little more. Okay. All right, that's our picture, you guys. I wanted you to see the difference between these are what I would call jewel tones. This is the advantage. Sometimes if you have a medium and varnish, it's not. You can keep painting right over it. I could varnish this whole thing and keep painting. A lot of times people don't realize that. This is great. I've used Liquitex gloss medium varnish for years. Nobody pays me to say this. I'm going to tell you, I just like it. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me just take this off of here now. Show you how pretty this is. Now against the green background. Now I think we have a painting that that I personally, that's my preference right here, is this picture right here, and I think it's really pretty. So I hope you enjoyed painting it. I hope you have really fun. Let me zoom in on it so that you can really see it. Let's just get it bigger. Now, sometimes what kind of bugs me is people never keep these at the end long enough for anybody to see them. So I'm just going to kind of leave it like that for a second. And be sure to watch, if you like these videos, be sure to like and subscribe and share. Appreciate it very much. And we'll see you next time.